I once rode in the shadows, where fire and blood whispered secrets of a world on the edge of oblivion. In Westeros, where loyalty is as fleeting as the wind, a silver-haired warrior raised a banner that echoed down our bloodlines. They called him Aenys Stormfire, a name that stirred the embers of a legacy long thought extinguished. I am here now to uncover the truth behind his ascent, and the price we all may pay. The storm was not just in the sky, but in the hearts of the Stormlanders. They whispered of Aenys, a Targaryen bearing the weight of fire and vengeance. With dragon banners sewn in secret and blades of Stormlander steel at his side, he proclaimed King's Landing illegitimate. Fire to cleanse the realm, he said, but was it fire or fury that drove him? Aenys spoke of avenging Daenerys' tragic end, but I wondered, could we truly bring back what was lost, or were we destined to repeat the mistakes of our ancestors? As rumors grew, the air thickened with anticipation and dread. The banners fluttered against the growing tempest, and the realm tightened its grip on a legacy riddled with pain. Queen Sansa, with the weight of the North on her shoulders, summoned Jon Snow from the icy expanse of the North. She called for Arya, who had woven herself into the fabric of the world, a blade in the dark. The realm was divided. Some hailed Aenys as a rightful heir, others as a mere pretender draped in dragon lore. I felt the tension in the air, heavy like the snow that clung to my boots. Was I to ride south as a savior or a pawn? And what of my kin? Would I face them as allies or enemies? The complexity of bloodlines haunted me, drawing lines that seemed insurmountable. How could we navigate this labyrinth without losing who we were? Aenys was no madman. He was a blend of fire and reason, charisma and ambition. His very presence lit the torches of hope. He spoke of a new realm forged in dragonfire, offering dreams of honor and valor to Jon and Arya. I watched as he captured the hearts of those around him, their eyes glistening with the promise of a brighter tomorrow. Could he be right? In that moment, I questioned my own resolve. What did it mean to claim the right to rule when bloodlines tangled like roots in the dark? Would Aenys resurrect the Targaryens or lead us into chaos once more? As Arya approached, the distance between her blade and Aenys narrowed. But when she witnessed him spare a child, scarred yet alive, her heart faltered. The child bore the marks of a tortured past, marks she knew all too well. In that moment, I saw myself reflected in his actions. A choice, to become a shadow of vengeance or a force for change. Could I step back from the edge? Would I? Brienne, ever the bastion of loyalty, faced a test of her own. Captured by Aenys, she stood before him, her spirit unbroken. "Bend the knee or face fire," he said with a spark of madness in his eyes. Their clash was more than a battle. It was an embodiment of the Realm Plus's soul, wrestling with its own demons. In that moment, I felt the heat of the flames close by. Was it worth surrendering my honor for peace? Or was rebellion the very death we sought to avoid? When Jon finally met Aenys face to face, it was not madness he saw, but the burdens they both bore. "I do not want the throne," Jon said, his voice a whisper against the storm, "but I will not let it burn again." It was a truth that hung like a sword above us. What if Aenys was right? What if the realm needed fire to forge its new path? And yet I felt Arya's presence behind me, a reminder that not all shadows lead to light. A raven from the wall shattered the weight of our deliberations. Whispers of an even darker winter stretched across the realm. What horror awaited us in the north? We could not fight each other when the true threat loomed beyond our own gates. I felt the chill seep into my bones. How could we unite against a shadow when our hearts burned with the flame of conflict? I knew we were running out of time, both in the north and within ourselves. At the precipice of the battlefield, Jon and Arya stood, faced with a choice that would change everything. Would they join Aenys, or would they draw steel against him? In the eye of the storm, we could feel the weight of choice crush our very souls. In the heart of chaos, I understood one thing. Life itself is a battlefield, where every choice can bring both salvation and destruction. Could we rise from the ashes, or were we destined to burn? As the storm rolled across the sky, the dragons of prophecy soared once more over a land soaked in blood. The time for choices had come, and the world held its breath in anticipation of the fires yet to ignite. Would we emerge from this tempest as heroes or ashes? A lesson learned too late. In the end, those whispered tales of Aenys Stormfire might have been the spark we needed, or the fire that consumed us all. We were caught in a web of loyalty, legacy, and the undying hunger for power. The lines we drew became blurred, and what is a kingdom built on betrayal but a house of cards waiting to fall? But then, as all storms do, the chaos began to settle. The skies darkened, but the resolve of those gathered remained unyielding. Warriors readied themselves for the coming clash, hearts steeled against the uncertainty of the future. Jon and Arya, brothers in arms and blood, found themselves on opposite sides of a churning sea of fate. The stark realization hung heavily in the air. They would have to make a choice that could reshape the world itself. As the armies gathered on the field, each soldier felt the tension of the moment. Was Aenys a usurper or a hero in the making? Was the Targaryen legacy one to uphold or extinguish? The battlefield was alive with whispers, carrying the hopes and fears of those who fought not just for themselves, but for the very future of Westeros. In the days that followed, alliances shifted, and the winds of war blew in unpredictable directions. Old enemies were forced to confront their pasts, while uneasy allies found common ground in their shared desire for a realm reborn. Brienne of Tarth stood firm, her loyalty tested but never broken. If Aenys was to be the savior or the destroyer, she would ensure her honor remained intact. Jon Snow faced what felt like insurmountable odds, riding into the fray with a heavy heart. What did it mean to fight for a cause that felt as twisted as the fate of the realm? He clung to his sense of duty, a direwolf banner raised high, but the question of kinship gnawed at him. In moments of quiet reflection, he wondered if the right path was the one that led to vengeance or redemption. As the first clashes erupted, the sounds of metal against metal filled the air, a symphony of chaos. Shouts of battle merged with the cries of the fallen, the ground soaked with the blood of those entangled in the struggle for power. It was here in the thick of the fight that Jon found himself face to face with Aenys Stormfire. "Tell me, Jon," Aenys shouted over the cacophony, his eyes ablaze with conviction. "What will you fight for? The throne? The legacy of a fallen queen? Or a new tomorrow forged in the fires of our actions?" Jon felt the pull of destiny, a harsh reminder of the choices placed before him. In that moment, he realized that the future of Westeros lay not in the hands of one man or woman, but in the unity of those willing to rise above their differences. Could Aenys's vision of a new realm unite the fractured houses, or would it deepen the chasms that had long entangled them? The battle raged on, with each swing of a sword echoing the cries of those who had fallen before. The air was thick with the scent of sweat, blood, and desperation. Would the storm bring renewal or destruction? As fate would have it, amidst the chaos, a flicker of hope emerged. The possibility that even in the darkest of times, alliances could form and hearts could change. As Jon faced Aenys, he felt the weight of history pressing down on him, the echoes of voices long silenced swirling around them. "What is a king without his people?" Jon asked, his voice steady yet heavy. "Are you prepared to lead us to a future, not just a conquest? Can you promise that fire will not consume what we hold dear?" Aenys paused, the fire in his eyes dimming as doubt flickered momentarily. "I will do what must be done for the realm, but I will not shy away from the fire that burns within us all," he declared, his determination reigniting. Jon's heart raced as he realized they were not so different, both men burdened by legacy and driven by the hope of doing right by their people. In that fleeting moment, they questioned whether the past could be rewritten, or if the ink was already dry, condemning them to repeat history's tragic mistakes. Yet, in the chaotic battlefield, the choice remained theirs alone to make. Would they stand together against a common foe, or would their legacies be entwined in a dance of blood and fire? As the storm swirled overhead and the dragons once again soared across the skies, a profound truth lingered. Hope, like a flame, could burn brightly even against the darkest of nights. The clash of swords and the cries of warriors echoed in the distance, but within Jon and Aenys, a new understanding began to take form. They were not enemies, but two sides of the same coin, caught in the whirlwind of fate's cruel design. As the winds changed, the path forward remained uncertain, yet something deeper stirred within them both, a possibility to rise from the ashes of their forebears and lead the realm to a brighter dawn. And then, at the edge of the battlefield, as shadows danced in the fading light, the question loomed large. Would they rise as kings united in purpose, or fall as foes lost in the embers of their lineage? One thing was certain. The future of Westeros depended not just on the fires of conquest, but on the bonds forged amidst the chaos and the hope that even the most fragile alliances could ignite a new legacy. As the last remnants of daylight faded into the horizon, the echoes of battle began to settle, and the realm held its collective breath. Would the fires of ambition cleanse or consume? As the storm clouds parted, revealing the first stars of night, the answer remained shrouded in uncertainty, but the future awaited those brave enough to seize it. In the heart of chaos, I understood one thing. Life itself is a battlefield where every choice can bring both salvation and destruction. Could we rise from the ashes, or were we destined to burn? In the end, those whispered tales of Aenys Stormfire might have been the spark we needed, or the fire that consumed us all. Together, they confronted the legacy of fire and blood that had shaped their lives. As they stood amidst the echoes of history, they understood the weight of their choices and the power of unity in the face of a divided realm. The dawn of a new era whispered in the wind, and in that moment, hope soared like a dragon across the skies of Westeros. As the storm rolled across the sky, the dragons of prophecy soared once more over a land soaked in blood. With every choice made and every ally found, the path forward began to reveal itself. A convoluted tapestry woven from the threads of loyalty, legacy, and the undying hunger for power. Though the battle was far from over, a flicker of hope emerged amidst the turmoil, illuminating the way toward a future forged in the flames of unity and resilience. In the aftermath of chaos, the question remained, could the scars of the past heal in the face of a shared destiny? As Jon, Arya, and Aenys stood together, they knew that they had the power to shape the realm's future, one of fire, blood, and the enduring spirit of its people. The struggle was only the beginning, for heroes are often born from the ashes of conflict, and the path to redemption was theirs to forge. As the night deepened, they gathered their strength, ready to face whatever lay ahead. The world was watching, waiting for the outcome of their choices. The realm's fate tangled in their hands. And in those fleeting moments, the true meaning of legacy became clear. It is not what is left behind, but what is built anew that defines us. In a land rife with betrayal and ambition, the echoes of the past still lingered, yet the promise of a brighter tomorrow beckoned on the horizon. Aenys Stormfire may have been a flame ignited from the ashes of history, but together they could become the beacon of hope that would illuminate the darkness. The call to action had been sounded, and as the dragons spread their wings, so too did the hearts of those daring enough to believe in the possibility of a united realm. The battle for Westeros was not just a fight for power, it was a quest for identity, a struggle to reclaim the very essence of what it meant to be Targaryen, Stark, and every soul in between. With the dragons soaring overhead and a united front taking shape, the realm prepared for a new chapter, one where hope might rise from the ashes and fire could forge a future worth fighting for. As dawn approached, a new day awaited. In the face of uncertainty, they stood ready to write their own fate. Together, they would strive not merely for survival, but for a realm reborn, a legacy awakened, and a future painted with the colors of courage and unity. In the heart of the storm, the fire of hope burned brightly, igniting a path forward filled with purpose and determination. And thus, the saga continued, woven into the fabric of history. An eternal tale of fire, blood, and the unyielding spirit of those who dared to dream of a better world. Would they rise or fall? Only time would tell, but as long as there were those willing to fight for a shared future, the spirit of Westeros would endure, unwavering and fierce as the storm that shaped it. As dawn broke over the horizon, the world began to transform. The first rays of sunlight cast a golden hue on the battlefield, illuminating the faces of the warriors poised for conflict. Aenys Stormfire stood at the forefront, his silver hair shimmering in the light, a testament to the legacy he sought to revive. Those who followed him were not just warriors, they were believers in a cause that resonated deep within their souls. Jon Snow mounted his direwolf Ghost, feeling the weight of his family's name pressing down on him. He looked out at the assembled forces, a mix of allies and uncertain hearts. Would they rally behind him, or would they falter at the first sign of adversity? He caught Arya's eye in the distance, her expression fierce and determined. They were bound by blood, but the choices before them could lead them down opposing paths. "Remember why you fight," Jon murmured to himself, his breath visible in the chill morning air. He felt the fierce loyalty of the Stark name surging through him, mingling with the flickering doubts that Aenys had ignited. The tension was palpable. It was the same tension he had felt at the Wall when the fate of the realm hung in the balance. Time was running thin, and the stakes had never been higher. As Aenys rallied his forces, his voice rang out across the field. "Today, we reclaim what was stolen from us. Today, we honor the legacy of Daenerys Targaryen and forge a new destiny." The fervor in his tone kindled the spirits of his followers, who cheered and raised their weapons high. But Jon felt a flicker of unease. The path to victory could lead to destruction, and the memory of those lost still haunted him. With the battle lines drawn, Arya stood among the rebels, her heart pounding with a mix of excitement and dread. She had seen the horrors of war and felt the sting of loss. Yet Aenys was different. He spoke with a conviction that resonated with her own desire for justice and retribution. Could he be the catalyst for change, or simply another flame destined to burn out? "Stay focused," she reminded herself, gripping Needle tightly. "This is not just a fight for power, it is a fight for the souls of the realm." She turned to her fellow rebels, rallying them with a fierce intensity. "We must stand together against tyranny. Our cause is just, and our enemies are within reach." As her words rang out, she hoped to ignite a fire within her comrades, driving them to fight for more than just survival. The battle commenced with a thunderous roar as swords clashed, and the air was filled with the sounds of chaos. Jon charged forward, directing his men with precision, heart pounding in his chest. Each swing of his sword was a reminder of the lives lost, and he fought not just for victory, but for redemption. In the midst of the fray, Jon spotted Aenys engaged in combat, his Valyrian blade gleaming with deadly purpose. The charisma that had inspired so many now manifested in his fierce determination on the battlefield. With each enemy he felled, Aenys grew bolder, and Jon realized the weight of their confrontation loomed closer. The two forces collided like thunder and lightning, and each clash echoed the moral struggles within the hearts of those watching. As Jon fought, he grappled with the question that had haunted him since Aenys proclaimed his intentions. "What are we fighting for?" he pondered amid the chaos, each fallen soldier a reminder of the fragility of life. The lines between right and wrong blurred in the heat of battle, and the truth seemed ever elusive. Meanwhile, Arya wove through the battlefield like a shadow, her instincts guiding her to those in need. Each life she saved pulled her deeper into the conflict between loyalty and justice. She had vowed to eliminate Aenys, but with every encounter that brought her closer to him, she felt the tug of compassion. The boy she had seen spared was now a reminder of her own past, and she questioned whether her blade should strike or stay. Amidst the chaos, Brienne of Tarth fought valiantly, her honor guiding her strikes. She had never backed down from a fight, and her fierce dedication to justice was unwavering. Yet as she parried blows and countered attacks, she felt the burden of her choices weighing heavily on her. What if this is the battle we've long awaited, but at what cost? She wondered. The clash of steel and the cries of the wounded echoed around them, creating a symphony of despair and valor. As the battle raged on, Jon found himself face to face with Aenys. Their eyes locked, and for a moment time stood still. They were warriors, but also brothers tied by blood and ambition. "Jon Snow," Aenys shouted, his sword glinting in the sunlight. "Join me. Together we can reshape this realm." The fervor in Aenys's voice was infectious, and Jon felt the pull of his words. Was this fight for the realm, or merely for the thirst for power? "I will not follow a path that leads to destruction," Jon replied, gripping his sword tightly. "You speak of justice, but your fire burns too hot. You will destroy everything we've fought for." "Then let us fight together, not as enemies, but as brothers," Aenys countered, desperation creeping into his voice. The realm needs strength, not division. The truth of his words hung heavily in the air, and Jon grappled with the notion that perhaps Aenys represented hope after all, if only they could find common ground. But the battles around them raged on, and the stakes had never been higher. Would they rise together in unity, or would the flames of ambition tear them apart? As the sun reached its zenith, the tide of the battle began to shift. Aenys's forces pushed onward, emboldened by his charisma, while Jon's men fought fiercely, fueled by their loyalty to the Stark name. The clash of blades filled the air, a cacophony of conflict resonating across the battlefield. Just then, an unexpected roar pierced the heavens. Above them, a shadow passed, blackening the sun for a fleeting moment. The sight of dragons soaring overhead sent shockwaves through the combatants. Fear and awe washed over them as they momentarily halted, gazing skyward. "Aenys," a rebel called out, pointing to the Skiua, "your dragons! They've returned!" The sight of the beasts reignited the flame of hope in the hearts of those who had come to fight. They were not merely battling for power, they were fighting for the very essence of life itself. Jon felt the pulse of adrenaline surge within him. "We must unite. We cannot falter now," he shouted, rallying his men. The presence of the dragons sparked a fire that ignited their spirits. In a moment of clarity, he realized that maybe they could forge a new path, one that drew strength from their legacies instead of allowing them to divide. With the dragons circling above, the chaos around them faded into a singular purpose. They were not just warriors on opposing sides, they were a coalition bound by a shared desire for a future free from tyranny. Aenys raised his sword high, a symbol of his intentions, and the sight of the dragons soaring in the sky amplified their resolve. In that instant, Jon and Aenys converged, swords clashing amidst the swirling eddies of fate. They fought not just for themselves, but for all of Westeros, a land bound by its turbulent history and a vision for a brighter tomorrow. "Together," Jon shouted amidst the tumult, "we can rise above the ashes of our past. Let us be the change this realm so desperately needs." Aenys nodded, understanding the weight of those words. They would either become legends or fall like so many before them. As they battled side by side, the tide began to shift. Their forces converged, and the sight of Aenys's dragons bellowing fire ignited a fierce unity among the fighters. The battlefield, once a place of despair, transformed into a crucible for transformation. But just as victory seemed within reach, a sudden, unexpected betrayal emerged from the shadows. A faction of rebels, disillusioned by Aenys's ambition, turned on him. "We will not submit to the whims of a Targaryen," they cried, raising their blades against their own. In an instant, chaos erupted anew. Jon, Arya, and Brienne fought valiantly to protect Aenys, realizing that the battle for the future was not merely against their enemies, but also one against the fractious nature of their own ambitions. The warriors of Westeros were not just battling for power, they were fighting against the ghosts of their past, the divisions that had long plagued the land. "Stand together," Jon urged, his voice rising above the din. "We are stronger united than divided. We fight for our future." The flames of betrayal crackled around them, but in the heart of the storm, the bonds forged in battle began to shine through the darkness. Those who had once seen Aenys as a threat now recognized the possibility of a united realm. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a fiery glow over the battlefield, it became clear that the true fight was not against one another, but against the fear and hatred that had divided them for far too long. Amidst the struggle, a choice lay before them, a choice that would define the course of history. Would they allow their past to dictate their future, or would they rise as a new generation willing to forge a legacy built on unity and compassion? As the battle raged and the dragons circled overhead, a new resolve ignited in the hearts of Jon, Aenys, Arya, and Brienne. This was not just the culmination of conflict, it was the dawn of a new era. If this tale of fire, blood, and the relentless pursuit of hope resonated with you, subscribe to our channel to journey deeper into the world of Westeros. Together, we will explore the complex tapestry of fate, legacy, and the choices that shape our destinies. Join us as we uncover the untold stories that linger in the shadows, waiting to be revealed. The sun began to set on the battlefield, painting the sky with hues of crimson and gold, a reminder that even in the darkest times, hope can rise anew. And as the last echoes of battle filled the air, the legacy of Aenys Stormfire, Jon Snow, and Arya Stark hung in the balance, waiting to be written under the watchful eyes of the dragons and the spirit of the realm they fought to protect.